Thank you very much for joining me on the marketplace. Welcome back. Now, some Moroccan investors have expressed interest in exploring the country's poultry industry. For now, Ghana imports about 135 million tons of poultry on an annual basis. This trend could change as these Moroccan investors have been engaging with poultry operators here in the country on best ways of injecting capital into the sector. This was at the Ghana-Morocco Poultry Summit currently ongoing in Accra. Charles Aite sat through the summit and engaged with the president of the Moroccan Poultry Federation, Youssef Aloui, as well as the president of the Ghana Poultry Farmers Association, Victor Opon Ejei.
Ghana and Morocco have currently partnered in what's been seen as a B2B engagement to find out the best ways to move the poultry industry here in the country forward. And we get to speak to the president of the Ghana Association of Poultry Farmers, as well as that of the Federation, the Moroccan Federation of Poultry Operators in that regard. But let me start with you, Youssef. You are the president of the Federation in Morocco. Why this partnership with Ghana?
Last year, the Minister of Agriculture of Republic of Ghana came to visit us in April for that big fair we have in Morocco. And as you know, Morocco was importing like frozen chicken like 20 years ago. But we decided that Moroccan citizens need to eat like fresh products. And so since 20 years, so now we are self-sufficient. And we think that experience that we have in Morocco, in accordance with the experience of people from Ghana, maybe we can share our experience and say that we stop the import of those products, to stop that expensive imports also for currency, and we think that it might be have partnership about establishing partnership here like in Ghana, if we see with our friends from the Ghana Association, and we think that each country in Africa could produce his own products, to be self-sufficient in poultry.
Right. Let me reckon the president of the Association of Poultry Farmers, and you have sat through the entire meeting from the beginning. You've heard from their side as well. I believe there are specific issues within your sector that you wish this partnership addresses.
Yeah, as we all know, we've had a big challenge in the country relating to the imports of frozen chicken into the country. And it has taken over 95% of our market, which is very bad. So with this collaboration, I think with their experience in broiler production, it's going to help us to produce local chicken here, because Morocco is producing about 10 million broilers a week, which is very huge. We are not even producing 100,000. So this is an opportunity for us to collaborate with them, to learn from them, to have experience from them, so that we can produce locally.
So when all is said and done, how much of net worth are we going to be expecting out of this partnership with Morocco? How much do you wish we could gain out of this partnership?
Yes, in fact, the opportunities are a lot. Apart from everything, it's going to create jobs for the people in Ghana, and it's going to alleviate poverty from the people, because when people are employed, poverty will be reduced. So this is an opportunity for us. If we are even producing 1 million a month, it's a lot. It's a lot. And we are very grateful for this opportunity.
All right. Also from your side, from Moroccan side, what do you hope to benefit shortly before you go?
I think that, coming here, for us, it's the first trip here in Ghana. So I thought we have a lot to learn, from Ghana, from your experience. And I think by the end of the day, maybe we will see the real opportunity that can be given to that partnership between the Ghanaian and Moroccan operator. But I'm really, hopefully, I think that we'll do something together.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. So that was the president of the Ghana Association of Poultry Farmers, and that was the Federation of Morocco in that regard. We shall be engaged in this situation. Clearly, the partnership between both countries. We do know that Ghana issues of poultry production and the challenges related to feed and other issues are much more of a paramount issue. So we shall be following closely to get the updates as and when we do have them.
Let's now turn attention to the financial sector, and the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has kept its key lending rates to commercial banks unchanged. It left the rate at 17% for the second time this year. Addressing journalists a while ago, Governor and also Chairman of the Monetary Policy Committee, Dr. Ernest Addison, said they had to toe this direction because of threats to economic growth and inflation.
But the outlook is for continued relatively stable macroeconomic conditions. The recently signed cocoa syndication loan of $1.3 billion should bring in additional foreign exchange to further boost our international reserves and provide some cushion against any further pressures. Ghana would also benefit from the recent sovereign credit rate upgrade by Standard & Poor's, which should lead to a reduction in Ghana's sovereign risk premium, reduce the cost of borrowing, and minimize rollover risk. The most recent forecasts at this MPC round show some marginal elevation of the disinflation path, taking into account the possible second round effects of the recent increases in petroleum prices, exchange rate depreciation, effects of recent increases in taxes, and the pickup of global inflation, as well as the effects of tight global financing conditions. These ordinarily would have warranted some adjustment in the policy rate. Given these considerations and weighing the balance of risks, the committee decided to keep the policy rate unchanged, but will continue to monitor closely developments in the coming months and take the appropriate policy decisions to address any potential threats to the inflation outlook. Thank you very much.
And that was the Central Bank Governor. Let's go straight to the Bank of Ghana premises and speak with George Wiafe, who is standing by for some more details on this meeting. George, you're welcome to the marketplace.
Thank you, Yafi. I can hear you. And if it's about the reason why they kept the rate at 17% earlier on, you have explained in your intro about the fact that there are issues about threat to the inflation rate, as well as economic growth. Now, the Bank of Ghana uses this tool to try and check the amount of cedis in circulation as well. So if their outlook and all things point to a certain angle, they want to use the policy rate as a measure to deal with the situation. Now, from their own analysis and extrapolations, they believe that there could be some threats to the economy, so it won't be good to cut the rate or even increase the rate. Let's maintain at 17%. And look at what things would happen before they react. So that could be the reason why the rate was held at 17% with respect to the Bank of Ghana decision after meeting to review the health of the economy by holding it at 17%.
All right, now, George, anything on the CD's performance?
Well, it came up during the monetary policy conference a while ago, and the concern was whether the Bank of Ghana would have changed its approach in terms of what they have done to try and stabilize the Ghana cedi. But the governor's response to this question was that they believe that if it hadn't been those extra measures that they have taken, as well as a solid fundamental, the cedi would have been done worse than what we're experiencing right now, compared to our peers in around the world on other economies, compared to the Brazilian currency, the South African currency as well. They've performed worse in terms of their rate of depreciation compared to the Ghana cedi as well. So he believes that a lot has been done. The fundamentals, they argue, are quite strong, and that is why we are seeing the cedi's rate of depreciation at that particular level. Also, let's talk about quoting the cedi, or local businesses quoting the cedi, quoting their services or prices in dollars. He argues that they are working to check that, but whilst they also try to check that as well, a lot of things are going to be done to strengthen the value of the Ghana cedi. And he believes that if this is actually done, that will go a long way to ensure that people are discouraged from holding their reserves or currencies in the dollar, which has also gone a long way to contribute to the challenge that we are facing. But I have Courage Mate with me. He's with Data Bank. He's a senior economist there. And I first want to get with him his thoughts on the actions or the decisions about the Bank of Ghana with respect to holding the rate at 17%. Courage, welcome to Marketplace. And let me ask you, for you, it was expected, right? Either a hold or a marginal increase. What do you make of the actions of the central bank?
The hold was absolutely expected, given the fact that we are just about recovering from a significant depreciation pressure on the Ghana cedi. The hold was also expected because we've seen what has happened to export price of petrol And very importantly, because there could be potential second-round effects, which we need to be cautious about. And so given the fact that we need to be cautious about the potential second-round effects of the export prices, we need to hold the policy rate at the current stance and watch how things evolve till November, the MPC meetings again.
Let's look at the implications of this action on one, trying to check the amount of cedis in circulation and also cost of credit as well. How is this tool going to impact on these two scenarios that we are trying to create here?
Well, first of all, the mandate of the central bank is to achieve price stability and sustain price stability. And this they do through interest rates, or if you like, cost of credit. Now, if they will have to increase the cost of credit to reduce money creation and liquidity, that is what their mandate requires of them to do. And that is their primary preoccupation for now. So that when things improve, then they can look at reducing the cost of credit for us to improve or increase money creation. Because by then, the higher money creation will pose little threat to inflation.
But let's look at how this would impact on the cost of credit, because the expectation was that the city was not doing that well. So why don't you use this tool to try and check the amount of cedis in circulation, making it quite expensive to hold on to this local currency?
Well, the policy rate is just one of other two kits that the central bank deploys to manage liquidity. So every week, what we know is that they are on the markets to mop up liquidity. And what we've seen in recent weeks is that they've been mopping up in excess of 1 billion cedis per week. And that is being rolled over as and when they mature. So beyond just maintaining the policy rate where it is, they have other tools that they will use to manage liquidity effectively, one of which is the mopping up liquidity.
What do you make of the Bank of Ghana's decision, also the fact that they are also working to strengthen the value of the cedi? And this comparison with our peers as well, that things could have been bad or worse than what you've seen if we hadn't taken some measures internally. But you compare the rate of depreciation. Last year, 4.4, this year, over 7%. I struggle to appreciate that explanation from the Bank of Ghana that things could have been worse than what we have seen compared to our peers in other regions.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is what has been said. We are not living in isolation. We are taking decisions in an interdependent, interrelated manner so that we are affected by the same wind in the same direction, but the strength of your, if you like, spine will determine your resistance to the wind. And the point he has made is that once the external sector blows, if your fundamentals are not strong, if you are very linked and very interrelated to the external sector, you will suffer bigger shocks like the South Africans of this world. But we have been able to contain our current account deficits to a narrower level. Our current account deficit is about 4% of GDP. In South Africa, it is in excess of 5% of GDP. So our narrower current account deficit compared to South Africa, for instance, has helped us minimize the pace of depreciation. And so in that sense, we can understand the Bank of Ghana that they are not seeking to deploy excuses. They are just trying to point us to the improvement that has helped us limit the pace of depreciation. And I think we should work in that direction to continue to improve the fundamentals. And that is the only way. These shocks will come. But it is the strength of our fundamentals that will determine how we react to these shocks.
All right, George. We spoke about write-off as 1.2 billion Ghana cedis. And another interesting development, how could that also impact on cost of credit?
Well, once you improve the asset quality, banks now see that the risk to the asset or loans not being paid back is down. And then banks are encouraged to take more risk. Now, if you look at the data that was published, you notice that between the last MPC and now, we've seen an improvement in not just the loan book, we've seen an improvement in growth in private sector credit, even in real terms, where by this time last year, the private sector credit in real terms contracted by 5%. As we speak, private sector credit has improved by 5%. So that's more than double the rate of growth in real private sector credit. And that is because of these expected write-offs and provisioning that is writing off those debts and leading to improved asset quality, and banks now beginning to create more money, take more risk, and improve lending.
So you have that's Courage Mate. He's with Data Bank, a senior economist, expressing his views on the decision by the Bank of Ghana to hold the rate at 17%. There's the second time this year that they've taken this action, and we're all expecting that it could impact on the cost of credit with respect to also the fact that the outlook might not be that bad for us. But I know you want to ask about other things that the governor spoke about.
Yes, especially the men's gold issue.
There were issues about some savings and loans. Well, he talked about the fact that they fully support the actions taken by the Securities and Exchange Commission, and therefore they are going to work closely with them to ensure that the right thing is done on this particular issue, Yafi.
All right, thank you very much, George, for that update. George Yafi reaching us live from the Bank of Ghana with updates on the outcome of the Monetary Policy Committee's meeting where the governor of the central bank announced a hold of the policy rate at 17%. Away from that, Ghana's public debt has hit 159.4 billion cedis, representing 66% of GDP at the end of July. This was contained in the latest Bank of Ghana's summary of economic and financial data released over the weekend. Now, the figure represents an increase of 5.1 billion cedis away from the 154.3 billion cedis in May. The report has more.
Ghana's current debt level is 21.9 billion cedis, higher than what was recorded in July 2017, which was 137.5 billion cedis, representing 67.4% of GDP. Even though yet-to-date figures and percentage with regards to debt to GDP dropped from 67.4% in July 2017 to 65.9% recorded in July 2018, there was an increase in total amounts. In July last year, Ghana's public debt stood at 137.5 billion cedis, while in the same period in 2018, the debt is now at 159.4 billion cedis. Out of the total public debt, external borrowings accounted for 85.5 billion cedis, representing 35.4% of GDP, with the remaining 73.8 billion cedis being 30.6% of GDP, coming through domestic borrowings. As per the figures from the central bank, the net international reserve stood at 2 months of imports cover, recording $3.8 billion, while the gross international reserve rather reduced from 3.8 months of import cover to 3.5 months of import cover, recording $6.7 billion in August 2017 from the $7 billion it recorded in July this year. The current numbers have also reignited the whole debate as to whether Ghana should use the debt to GDP ratio or the nominal numbers to assess government's commitment to reduce the public debt. Meanwhile, some economists believe that a new debt to GDP ratio, if not checked, could move Ghana back to a high risk to debt ratio country, which will see it join the league of highly indebted poor countries.
Meanwhile, the country's export earnings as of August 2018 has hit $10 billion, with imports figure now at $8.7 billion. In the same period, gold fetched the country $3.7 billion, cocoa brought in $1.4 billion, while export of crude oil raked in some $2.9 billion. Still staying within the fiscal regime, the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Emmanuel Kofinti, says the Commission will from next week embark on a full implementation of the excise tax stamp policy. He says this final phase implementation process will involve seizure, confiscation and prosecution of non-compliant members of the public who do not affix tax stamps on their excisable products. At a media briefing this morning, Emmanuel Kofinti also advised the public to desist from buying any excisable products from the market without tax stamps.
This time around, that is the second phase. The enforcement compliance exercise will involve the complete detention, seizure, and imposition of the required 300% penalty of the duties and taxes involved on corporates. I beg to repeat again. This time round, that is the second phase. The enforcement compliance exercise will involve the complete detention, seizure, and imposition of the required 300% penalty of the duties and taxes involved on corporates. As I have said on a number of occasions in the past 1 month, whenever I have had the opportunity to speak to the media, I wish to reiterate that the days of impunity about non-compliance with the tax laws are completely over. We wish to convey to the public that they cannot choose and select which of the tax laws they want to obey. All the sanctions enshrined in the law on failure to comply with the affixing of the SI tax stamp will be applied to the letter. I wish to assure the public that it has never been and will never be the intention of GRA to embarrass and harass anybody. All that we seek to do is make sure that there is total compliance with the law. Let the public be aware and take note accordingly. I therefore appeal to the public, particularly manufacturers, importers, wholesalers and retailers of the specified excisable goods to operate in accordance with the requirements of Act 873. To the larger and consuming public, the catchphrase should be no tax stamp, no purchase. Before I drank this bottle of water, I checked to see if there was a tax stamp. And I saw the tax stamp, and so I drank the water.
Meanwhile, the Food and Beverage Association has described the move by the GRA to embark on a full implementation of the excise tax stamp policy as unfortunate. The association argues the move will send wrong signal to the investor community. Here's Executive Secretary Dr. Samuel Agri.
That is most unfortunate if government decide to go this way. You see, clamping down on businesses, seizure of goods and all that, what signal are you sending to the investors out there? And what signal are you also sending to the manufacturers? What you're asking them to do is to close down until they are ready. Then they do so. It is on this background that I said some time back ago that what they need to do, the manufacturers, is to lay down your tools. Because if you don't have the means to do it, why do you go through all these laborious processes where they will have to eventually prosecute you for that? You need not to go through that. If you think you cannot implement the tax stamp, just shut down your facility. Lay off your staff and let the government will be the loser. And I don't think we need to go to that extent. That is why when we met them the last time, we said, please allow them ample time to come on board. We are in September. October, November, December is already there. Come January, that is when you say you are having a full grade enforcement, people will then understand the ample time that you said you have given. Because the discussion that has gone on, the last meeting that we had was the end of it, because everybody agreed to come on board. So if they decided to come on board, what must we do to make sure that we don't go?
And that's what we have for you by way of business stories on the marketplace today. Before we go, as a reminder, in a top story, the Bank of Ghana's Monetary Policy Committee maintains the current policy rate at 17% the second time this year. My name is Emmanuel Abwaji. Thank you very much for joining me. Good afternoon.